Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Today I'm going to show you how to make this super cute shell bookmark. It's just made with some cotton yarn and a bunch of little shells and has a cute little fringe on the bottom. They are a great stash buster if you have little bits of yarn that you need to get rid of or you want to make something super quick. This is a great pattern for that. So let's go ahead and get started. For your materials, you will need a 100% cotton yarn. I recommend a super fine or a lace weight yarn. This is just the Friends Cotton 8-4 from Hobby. I really like this yarn. It is a great width and there's a ton of colors that you can choose from, but grab some 100% cotton yarn in a lace weight. You will also need a 2.5mm crochet hook, a tapestry needle, and a pair of scissors. And let's go ahead and get started. I also wanted to mention some optional materials that you might want to have. So when it comes to keeping the edges all nice and straight and also for cutting the fringe, I like to pin this down to a blocking mat. So optional materials could be a blocking mat, some pins, a steamer if you want to block it, but that is really all that you will need. To start, we're going to make a slip knot. And then go ahead and place that onto your crochet hook. And then you will go ahead and chain 10 plus 5. So technically 15, but we're going to be chaining 10 plus 5. Once you have made your chain, you are going to single crochet into the 7th chain from the hook. I like to turn my chains over so that I'm looking at the back bumps and I work into those, but you can just work into the front as well. But you're going to single crochet into the 7th chain from the hook. This is going to give you a little bit of a hole to start off. Then we are going to chain 4. We're going to skip 4 chains. And into the 5th chain, we are going to single crochet. So now you should have a small hole on the right and a larger hole on the left, right in the middle. Now you will chain 2. You're going to skip 2 chains, and then into the very last chain, you will place a double crochet. So you should have something that looks like this, where you have a small hole on the right, a big hole in the middle, and a small hole on the left. For row 3, we're going to chain 1, and then turn our work. We're going to single crochet into the same stitch that is on top of our double crochet. So place 1 single crochet into that same stitch. And then we are going to skip this chain space right here, and we are going to place 5 double crochets. This is going to make our shell stitch. We will place 5 double crochets into our single crochet right here in the middle. So go ahead, place 5 double crochets right into this single crochet. So now you should have 5 double crochets, your first shell right here at the beginning, and then into this large chain space that's in the middle, you will place 1 single crochet. So I'm going into the chain space, not any of the chains, but into the chain space and placing a single crochet. And that will help anchor down that shell stitch. Into our next single crochet from the previous row, we're going to place 5 double crochets. So we're going to place another shell stitch into that single crochet from the previous row. So go ahead and place your 5 double crochets. So now you will have 2 shells, and then finally you will place a single crochet into the 3rd chain at the end. So you might have to wiggle it around a little, but we have 1, 2, 3, and we'll place a single crochet into that 3rd one. And now you will have something like this. For row 4, we are going to chain 4, and then turn our work. And then we are going to place 1 single crochet into the 3rd double crochet of our shell stitch. So we did 5 double crochets in our shell stitch, but we're going to place a single crochet into the 3rd one. So 1, 2, 3. That should be your middle one. Go ahead and place 1 single crochet into the 3rd double crochet of your chain or of your 5 double crochets. Then you will chain 4, and then you will again place a single crochet into the 3rd double crochet of your shell stitch. 1, 2, 3. Place a single crochet into that 3rd one. Then you will chain 2, and then into the very last stitch, which should be a single crochet from the last row, you will place 1 double crochet. So now you should have something like this, where we have 1 row of spaces, 1 row of our shells, and then the next row is spaces again. And we're going to be alternating that throughout the whole thing. I'll show you a few more times though. So since we did our spaces row, we need to do some shells. So we're going to go back and we're going to chain 1, turn, and then into that same stitch that we just chained from, we will place 1 single crochet. We are then going to skip that chain space and place our shell stitch, so that's 5 double crochets, into the next stitch, which is a single crochet from the last round. So go ahead and place 5 double crochets. Now that you've made your first shell, you're going to go into the next chain space, that really large one, and you're going to anchor down with a single crochet into the chain space. Then we will make our next shell stitch. So into the next stitch, which is a single crochet from the last row, you will go ahead and place your shell stitch, which is 5 double crochets. Once you've done that, you will go ahead and place your final single crochet into the 3rd chain at the end. This will finish off the row. So now we've done our shell stitch row. Now we're going to make our space row. So what we will do is we will chain 4, turn our work. We will find the 3rd double crochet of our 5. So 1, 2, 3. That should be right in the middle. And you will place 1 single crochet into the 3rd double crochet of the shell. That creates your first space. You will then chain 4, and then into the next shell, you will find the 3rd double crochet, which again should be the middle of your shell stitch, and you will place 1 single crochet into the 3rd double crochet of your shell. Then you will chain 2, and into the final stitch, which should be a single crochet from the last round, you will place 1 double crochet. So now you can see that we have repeating rows of spaces and shells, and you're just going to repeat those 2 rows over and over until you have 26 rows altogether. This will be around 7 inches or 17.5 centimeters long. So you can use any yarn, any hook that you want for this as long as you reach 7 inches. But go ahead and do your 26 rows or reach your 7 inches, and I will go ahead and leave the information on the screen for you so that you can pause and you can do your 2-row repeat. But go ahead and do that for 26 rows, and I will meet you back once you've gotten that. Once you have done all 26 of your rows, and this is your 26th when you are counting your chain, your very first initial chain as row 1. Once you get to your 26th row, you should have something that looks like this. You will be stopping on a space row. So if you are not following the 26 rows, just make sure that when you finish, you are finishing on one of your spaces row. So now we are going to work on the border of our bookmark. So first you will chain 1 and then turn your work. Then you will single crochet into the same stitch that you chained 1 on. So that very first stitch, place 1 single crochet. Into the chain space right here, we will place 2 single crochets. You will skip this single crochet, and then into the large space in the middle, you will place 3 single crochet. You will skip the next single crochet, then you will place 2 single crochet into this last space, and then into the second to last chains. You'll have 2 left on the side here. You'll place 1 single crochet into the second to last one. Then you will chain 1, and then we're going to turn to work along the long side of our bookmark. Now go ahead and place 2 single crochet into that same space that we have already placed 2 in, but on the side. So place 2 single crochet. We're going to skip our row with the shells, and then into this next space, we will place 3 single crochet. We'll skip our shell row again, and into the next space, place 3 single crochet. And you will keep doing that where you skip the shell row and then place 3 single crochet into the next space all the way until you reach the end, and I will meet you back there. I've just placed 3 single crochet into each of the spaces all the way down. I'm at the final space at the very bottom, and in this final space you will place 2 single crochet. Then you will chain 1, and we're going to turn to work along the bottom now. We are again going to place a single crochet into that first chain, which would be the second one when looking at it from a different way, but we're going to place a single crochet in there, and then we will place 2 single crochets into that same chain space right here. So place 2 single crochets. You will skip that first single crochet from that one row right there, and you will place 3 single crochets into the middle space. You will then skip the single crochet, and into the final chain space here, we will place 2 single crochet. Then into the final stitch at the very end, you will place 1 single crochet. Then we are going to chain 1. We are going to turn to work along the other side of our bookmark. Into this same chain space right here at the bottom, we will place 2 single crochets. We will skip our shell row, and into the next space you will place 3 single crochet. Again, you will skip the shell stitches. Into that next space, place 3 single crochet, and then you will continue again skipping the shell stitch rows and placing 3 single crochets into the spaces all along this side until you reach the top. So I've gone all the way down. I'm right back at the beginning here. In this very last chain space, we will place 2 single crochet. Then we will chain 1, and then we will slip stitch to that very first stitch, and then you can go ahead and fasten off, cut your yarn, and then go ahead and weave in your ends. At this point you have the base of your bookmark all done. I like to block mine just because it gets a little bit scrunched up in some places, so I'm going to go ahead and block this, and then I'll show you what you can do to add the fringe. If you are also wanting to block this, this is the method that I like to do. I have a previous one that I'm going off of just to be sure. The dimensions of this is about 2 inches by, I think it's like 8 inches once you've actually blocked it all, maybe even 7 inches. But I'm going to go ahead and get my corners lined up on my blocking mat. And now that I've double checked, it is 7 inches lengthwise. So I'm going to count 7 inches. And if you have a blocking mat like this where it's got the squares, each square should be about 1 inch. 6, 7. So I'm going to again find the bottom corner here and stretch it to reach. Do the same thing on the other side. You could just do the 4 pins here, but I like to go along the edge just to make sure. Basically, wherever I'm pinning is where I want something to straighten out. So I'm just gonna go along the edge, finding little divots in the bookmark and pinning them down. And I will do the same thing on the other side, especially so I can get back that width that I need. So now you can see that I've got my bookmark nice and pinned, and I'm gonna go ahead and steam block this. This is 100% cotton, so it's not like a huge deal, but I like the way that steam blocking works. It dries a little bit faster. So I'm gonna go ahead and steam block this, and then I'll come back when it is dry and show you how to do the fringe. Now that my bookmark is nice and dry, I've blocked it. I have gone ahead and taken out the pins that are on the bottom here. And we are going to work on the fringe. To start, you're going to take the yarn that you used. You can use any yarn, I suppose, but I'm using the same color. You're going to cut 11 strings of yarn that are 6.5 inches long, which is also 16.5 centimeters long. So you're going to cut 11 of these so that we can make the fringe. So when it comes to the fringe, we're going to be adding it to the stitches that are along the bottom here. Since we've made 11 of our fringe pieces, you should make sure that you have 11 stitches along the bottom. So for attaching the fringe, make sure that your bookmark is right side up. So whichever side you decide is the front, go ahead and make sure that's facing up. I like to keep mine completely pinned on my blocking board just to hold it in place because this can get a little bit fiddly. You're going to find your first stitch on the left side and go ahead and insert your hook from top to bottom into that stitch. Then you're going to take one of your pieces of fringe, your string, fold it in half, and then place the looped end onto your hook. Then go ahead and pull that loop through the stitch. But don't pull it all the way, just pull it up enough that you can grab onto it and then remove your hook. So now we're going to go ahead and make what's called a lark's head knot. This is just like an overhand knot basically when you're doing things like this. So we're going to take the loose ends, so not the looped end, which is over here coming from the bottom to the top. We're going to take the loose ends and place that through our looped end. So you can see that this is coming up through that looped end. Once you've done that, grab your loose end and you can go ahead and just pull this tight. You have your first fringe. I'll go ahead and show you again. So we're going to go into the next stitch, place our hook from front to back or top to bottom. We will grab our fringe piece, fold it in half, place the looped end onto the hook, and go ahead and pull that loop through the stitch. But not all the way. Then you can remove your hook, place the loose end through the looped end. So it looks like this. Grab the loose end and go ahead and pull it tight to make a lark's head knot. So now you'll continue doing this all the way down until you have 11 pieces of fringe, and then I will show you what to do next. So now you should have something that looks like this when you have all of your fringe done. And for me, this is a little bit long, so I'm going to show you how I trim it so that it's the exact size I want, and then what I do after that. The first thing that I like to do for the fringe here is I like to try to separate this the best that I can so that they're all laying pretty flat and they're not twisting around each other. That way I can get a nice even cut on the end. So go ahead and do that if you haven't already. Now that I've separated everything, I want to cut my fringe to about 2 inches, which is 2 of these squares right here. And a really cool trick that I learned, I can't remember who it was from, but it was on Instagram, was to use painter's tape to hold down your piece where you want to cut it so that you can get a nice straight line. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this painter's tape and put it just under where my 2 inches are. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cut across right above that. Then once I've done that, I can go ahead and take my painter's tape off. It holds all of the scraps and I can just throw that away. So now my fringe is cut pretty evenly. I'm not too worried about it being absolutely perfect. At least it's pretty even. The next thing that I like to do is I like to run my steamer over the fringe just for like a few seconds just to help it lay flat. So I'm going to go do that and then I'll meet you after that. And that's it. You have your very own bookmark completely done. It was super quick and super fun to make. And I just love making these. I can make them in a million different colors and not be tired of it, honestly. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you liked it. And if you would like to see more of my tutorials, if you'd like to be notified, go ahead and hit that bell icon as well. And if you like this video, like it. If you disliked it, dislike it. Go ahead, let me know your thoughts, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Bye, everyone.